Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Deuteronomy. Today we're beginning to look at Deuteronomy chapter 16. Now, as we look through 16, we're going to see that the main part of this chapter deals with the religious calendar of the Israelites, their primary festivals. As we move through the chapter, Moses is going to give instructions on how they are to celebrate these festivals once they are in the new land. He's going to talk about three of the festivals: the Passover, the Festival of Weeks, and the Festival of Tabernacles. Now, this is not the only place in the first few books of the Bible where the festivals of Israel are discussed. For instance, the instructions and the institution of the Passover is found in Exodus chapter 12, at the point when the Israelites are delivered from Egypt. Some very detailed and specific instructions on how they are to celebrate the Passover is given at that time. And then in Leviticus chapter 23, we find a lot of instructions on not only the Passover, but all the festivals that Israel is to observe in the Promised Land in their religious calendar throughout the year. And then again in Numbers chapter 28, we again find instructions for the different festivals the Israelites are to celebrate as the people of God. So the fact that it's mentioned so often, and now again, of course, in Deuteronomy chapter 16, shows how important these festivals are to the life of Israel as a community of worship, to remind them that they are the people of God. So the religious year was very, very important for the life of Israel. Now, there are going to be three festivals mentioned in Deuteronomy 16. These are not the only festivals they observed. There were others. But these are the three primary festivals, the heart of their religious year, the heart of their religious calendar. These are called the pilgrim festivals. If you notice in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 16 and following, it says this about these three. 3 times a year, all your men must appear before the Lord your God at the place he will choose, at the festival of unleavened bread, at the festival of weeks, and at the festival of tabernacles. No one should appear before the Lord empty-handed. Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord your God has blessed you. So these three are called pilgrim festivals. To celebrate these festivals, if it was at all possible, you were to go to the central place of worship. Now, eventually that would be Jerusalem. That's sometime in the future. But even in the early days of the Promised Land, they set up the tabernacle at Shiloh. And so 3 times a year you were required, if at all possible, to go to that place of worship and celebrate these festivals. That's why they're called pilgrim festivals, because you would make a pilgrimage to the central place of worship. Now, some of the other festivals, which are mentioned in Leviticus 23 and Numbers 28, you didn't necessarily have to go to the central place of worship. You'd still observe them, but you didn't have to worship at the tabernacle or later at the temple. So these 3 festivals, Passover, the Festival of Weeks, and the Festival of Tabernacles, they are very, very important to the life of Israel. Now, the next few days we'll look at each one of them in turn and what they meant for Israel and how they were celebrated. But I just wanted today to see that they form the basis of the year. The year revolved around these 3 important festivals. A good way to understand that is to look at it from the Christian perspective. You know, in the Christian calendar, we have certain holidays or certain moments of celebration around which the entire Christian year revolves. The 2 most important occasions, of course, are Christmas, when we celebrate the birth of Christ and the incarnation, that God in his Son Jesus became man, fully God and fully man. That's celebrated at Christmas. And then the other holiday, of course, is Easter, when we celebrate the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. He died for us on Good Friday and rose again on Easter morning. So those are the 2 important festivals in the Christian calendar, Christmas and Easter. And then for each of those festivals, we have some seasons around them to help us understand. So at Christmas time, we have the Advent season that prepares us for Christmas. And then we celebrate Christmas. And then we have the Epiphany season, in which we talk about what all that Christmas meant. And then around Easter, we have some seasons. We have Lent, which is the season of preparation for Easter. And then we have the great celebration of Easter. And then following the Easter season, we have Pentecost. So you see, we in the Christian church also have our yearly calendar that reminds us of the center of our faith. It revolves around Christmas and Easter. And in the Jewish calendar of the Old Testament, their faith was centered on these 3 festivals: Passover, the Festival of Weeks, and the Festival of Tabernacles. So in the next few days, in the next few sessions, we'll look at each one of them in particular and see what they taught the Israelites about who they were as the people of God, what God had done for them, and what he was doing for them. Tomorrow we'll start looking in particular at Passover. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the book of Deuteronomy.